Hi everyone, Ryan here with Fight Game Analysis, and today we are going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Robert Whittaker and Jared Cannonier. But before we jump into that, if you've been enjoying the channel, please go ahead and smash on that like button and also subscribe. Really appreciate your support. Alright, so UFC 254 co-main event, Robert Whittaker versus Jared Cannonier. Now this is a fight that has some pretty big implications. The guy who wins this one could very reasonably be fighting for the title in the near future. You've got Robert Whittaker, former champion, only lost to the current champion, right? Israel Adesanya. Comes back off that, just beat Darren Till. If he beats Jared Cannonier on this one, he could very easily be looking at a shot at the title. And then you've got Jared Cannonier. Ever since he dropped down to middleweight, he ran off 3 really impressive wins, 3 stoppages against last 2, Anderson Silva and Hermanson. If he beats Whittaker in this fight, he's got a real strong claim to be fighting for the title in the near future. So there's a lot of stake. There is a lot at stake in this one. Both guys are going to be coming out there fighting hard. Should be a pretty good fight. Let's take a look at Jared Cannonier. Now, he's a unique fighter. He came in fighting at heavyweight and worked his way all the way down to middleweight. Now here he is, 185, and he's looked impressive. As you can imagine, as he moved down in weight, he's only 5'11". So while he was moving down in the ranks, it looked like these lower weight classes were just more natural for him. Looked like he was going to adapt to him better and be able to handle the competition. Now at 185, he looks pretty good. He's shredded too. His body looks really good. Looks like he's able to handle it. Really good. Even though he's slightly short for the division, I'd say he's got some really good reach. Now his fighting style, he is still progressing. It's interesting. He came out of Alaska. And I remember when we were first hearing about him, one of the things that people were talking about was, as you can imagine, it's hard to get good training partners up there. The gyms, they kind of are what they are. And not to say that they're not good, but they're just not the best of the best. They're not world class. When the best fighters in the world want to go hold their training camps, when they want to get sparring, when they want to go train, they don't go to Alaska. So as Cannonier was starting to progress, he had to leave there. And he hooked up about 3 or 4 fights ago. He started training at the MMA lab. And you've really seen his game progress since then. So you look at him now, and he's a better striker than he's ever been. But one of the things that stands out to me about him is that he doesn't have anything that's special other than his power. He has got some really good power. He hits a guard. When he lands shots, guys feel it. His game is pretty well-rounded, though. But nothing really stands out. Now, what I like about him is I like the right hand. And he uses it in 2 ways. First way that I really like is he throws it over the top, and he does as a counter, right over the top of his opponent's jab. And he doesn't throw it on like a 1-2 beat. He throws it just as a 1. As soon as his opponent starts to throw that jab, dips his head off to the side a little bit, right off the line, and throws that power right over the top. Really like that. And then I also like it when he leads. Knows how to throw it in a combination as a 1-2, leads with it well. He can chase a guy, throw it from some different angles if the guy's trying to move, maybe circle off of the cage. He's just got a good right hand, like the way he throws it. Other thing that I really like is his low kicks. When he gets in there and he lands a low kick on guys, they feel it. He does not have to land too many before his opponent will start to change his behavior a little bit. Like you can tell right away that he felt him. So those are 2 things that he does really well. Other than that, I would say he's a little bit flat-footed. It's kind of a knock on him. But the other things that stand out to me about him as a weakness, no surprise here, is grappling defense. He's been taken down, held down in fights, kind of looked like a fish out of water in the past. I'll be the first to admit his wrestling defense has definitely progressed over, particularly since he hooked up at MMA Lab. But when you look at his last fight against Hermanson, his wrestling defense was a lot better. He got taken down, but he got back up well. He was able to defend some takedowns really well. Overall, he just looked good. Ended up getting the stoppage. Great win for him. So you can tell that he's working on it. You can tell that he's progressing. How good is it? Is it top of the food chain, world class? No. Is it going to be good enough for him to fend off the takedowns of Whittaker? If that's what Whittaker decides to do? I don't know. Remains to be seen. But the jury's still out on it. As much as he's working on it, even though we saw him good in the Hermanson fight, that's been a real big weak point. And the other thing that I definitely have to point out is his footwork. It's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. And there's 2 things that kind of stand out to me about it. Number 1, he doesn't know how to cut off the opponent. When you look at him when he's striking, he follows guys. And it allows them to circle well. It allows him to get angles he wants. It doesn't allow him to trap guys against the cage where he could really utilize that power and get to work. He lets guys off the hook sometimes with that footwork. And then the second thing is, I don't like, he doesn't close distance and feint good enough for me with his feet. He comes in, he's a little bit flat-footed, and I think that if he was a little bit lighter, moved in and out a little bit better, just feinted with his feet a little bit more, it'll really allow him to set up those power shots in an even more devastating way, and he'd be able to get them off more frequently than he currently does. Now, let's talk about Whittaker, former champion. And what I like about Whittaker is his fighting style is the explosiveness. I love that he's got this kind of offbeat timing almost a little bit. He moves, not a pace, but at a rhythm that you don't really see a lot of guys move at. And he's so explosive. He's all the way on the outside, or bang, he covers the distance and he's all the way at the inside, doing what he needs to do, getting off one or two shots, and then getting back out, getting at an angle. Works good. Low kicks, knows how to hide his high kicks behind his shots well, behind his combinations, which I really like. He's got a good jab that he works well. Knows how to stay behind it, stay on the balls of his feet, working on the outside, and then come in and explode with it. One of the things that I think really sets him apart, that puts him at that top level with his striking, is his ability to be unpredictable. He doesn't utilize the same patterns over and over and over again when he's fighting, which allows opponents to time him. He doesn't do that, and a lot of guys do. Even high-level people, they become familiar with things. They fall in love with certain movements, certain patterns, certain combinations, and Whittaker doesn't do that. He's got every strike available to him. He's got every tool there, and he mixes them up well. So even though he only may go in for 2 or 3 strikes with his combination, maybe just a big lead, follow up with a head kick, it's the unpredictability that allows him to get a lot of that stuff off. And then he just turns around and he gets right out of range, gets away from guys. He does it really well. Now, his wrestling could really come into play this fight. We've heard a lot about it. You've seen the little UFC 254 countdown. He's in there working on his wrestling, wearing his nice Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rash guard, kind of indicating that he may go to that may be something that he uses in this fight. It's good. We've seen it before. Now, we haven't seen him go to it really heavy. We haven't seen it as a primary part of his game plan. But we have to believe that on paper, it's better than what Jared Cannonier's at. Will he use it, though? Remains to be seen. Okay, so the question is, what's it going to look like when these two step in there? UFC 254 co-main event. Think about how this one's going to play out. Cannonier's just going to come out. He's going to take the middle of the octagon. He's going to come forward with the flat foot. Kind of work behind the jab a little bit. Not too much. He's not really a busy fighter, but he'll throw it out there. And Robert Whittaker, he's going to stay on the balls of his feet. He's going to give up a little bit of ground to Cannonier. He doesn't mind working from the outside, bouncing around a little bit. And Cannonier will move forward, kind of plod forward a little bit. Whittaker will, he'll work the jab from the outside. Never commit too much, little leg kicks here and there. He'll win the exchange. He'll initiate and win the exchanges from the outside while he's moving around on the balls of his feet, circling. Cannonier's going to follow him. He doesn't cut off the octagon great. So that's going to allow Rob to do what he wants to do. But it's not going to be anything flashy, anything spectacular. Just kind of feeling things out. He definitely has to respect Cannonier's power, particularly early, while Whittaker's trying to figure out Cannonier's speed and his rhythm, things like that. Now, towards the end of the first round, maybe into the second round, I think that's when we're going to see Whittaker start to open up. That's when we'll start to see his explosive movements. He'll come in, really try to cover that ground, start to get his combinations off, start to land hard shots, maybe start to work the kicks in behind him, like high kicks and things like that at the end, at the end of the combinations, after he hides them behind his punches. Back Cannonier up when he can. Work those angles, slide in and out, off to the sides. I think it'll all work pretty well. Cannonier's going to get his shots off. Don't get me wrong. He's got a really good counter right hand. He'll shoot it over the top of Rob's jab when he get the chance. He's got good leg kicks. He'll be able to land those of his own. There'll be some good exchanges and he'll get off. And when he lands, he's probably going to land pretty hard. But Whittaker's tough. He's been able to take everything other than what Adesanya was able to dish out. I think he'll be able to stand up to it. I don't think Cannonier's going to be able to get off a high amount of shots or be able to really sting Rob, back him up, hurt him, get him against the cage. So I think Rob will win these exchanges, especially as he starts to turn up the volume and get those explosive movements going. And I think that'll actually open up Cannonier even more. I think once Rob starts to kind of dictate the pace and the action and he's getting his shots off, it'll make Cannonier be a little bit more aggressive than he wants to be. He's been more patient lately as he's been developing as a striker. but I think that'll make him become a little bit more aggressive. He'll try to get his shots off, try to force the action, knowing that he can't let Rob dictate the pace because he can't win at the rhythm and the pace that Whittaker wants to set. And once he does that, it'll open him up even a little bit more. And I think Rob will be able to use the superior footwork and just kind of the superior striking from the outside, closing those distances when he needs to. And he'll be able to walk away with unanimous decision on this one. It was in the pre-fight buildup. It was funny. Whittaker even said, he kind of hinted at that as what he was going to do. And then one of the things that he closed with was, it's a lot easier to do it for 3 rounds than 5. And I think that hints at the style that he wants to use. That movement-based style, in and out, striking, versus just going in there and trying to bulldoze somebody. But I think he'll be able to do it for 3 rounds. I think he'll look good when he does it. I think his striking is just kind of at that next level. If he wants to work in any wrestling at any point, once Cannonier gets aggressive, once he starts to move forward and he knows he's behind and trying to land those shots, that would be the time to change levels. It won't be a tell at that point. If he's winning the striking battle already, Cannonier won't expect it. He goes in there, gets a takedown that racks up even more points, burns even more time off the clock, lets Cannonier get a little bit more tired next time he gets up trying to land strikes. So I like Whittaker in this one. And he's actually, the line's moved. I think he opened up as a slight favorite. By the time I'm making this video, which isn't until Thursday night, he's actually moved a little bit to the slightest of underdogs. He's at, I think, neg 105, and Cannonier had moved to about minus 120. So you can jump on there, get slightly good odds. But going with Whittaker by decision on this one. Let me know what you guys think. Is he going to be able to pull it out, or is it going to be 4 in a row for Cannonier?